And so the next time something happens to you, good or bad, that moment of pause, the moment of excitement, the moment of fear, the moment of anger, pause, hold, and choose how you react to fate. Today, we're going to be talking about fate and how we can choose to accept it no matter what it throws at us. And the reason I want to bring this conversation up with you today is because at the end of my last series in Ireland, I actually got into a car accident at the very last hour of the trip. And what I reflected on is how I reacted to that situation versus how I would have reacted to that situation 10 years ago before I started walking this more spiritual life and wandering around the world. And the reason I think this conversation is going to be beneficial to you, the viewer, no matter what path you walk in life, is because accepting fate and the things we cannot control is a very important thing in life, because no matter what lifestyle you live, you will have things happen to you that you will not expect. You will have bad things happen, you will have great things happen. And the only thing we can really affect, the only thing we can really do in these situations is change how we react to them. Also, hello and welcome to this channel if it's your first time here. This channel is mostly dedicated to understanding and researching ancient religions and how they survive today. So I travel all over the ancient world, all over Europe and across North America, trying to discover more about the ancient past and how that can teach us something today. So let's go ahead and get to this conversation about fate. Now, to my spiritual friends and my spiritual viewers are like, why is he talking about this? Well, fate is really interesting because in ancient days, fate was very mythological. You had, in the Greek belief, you had the fates. And then you also have the Norns in Germanic and Scandinavian mythology and belief. And basically every mythology has some concept in this idea of fate, because even now in our modern era, we may have changed the way we talk about it. And so even like this terminology, like Jesus take the wheel, what you're saying is in this moment, you know that life is so crazy that you can only let the external spiritual take control of life because you have no effect over it. But let me get into the car accident here and kind of describe what I mean by this a little bit more. So basically at the very end of this Irish trip, I was in this massive camper van, had very little problems with the camper van throughout the entire journey, and I was 1 hour away from leaving Ireland. I had to take the ferry back to England. I went to go fill up the gas tank. So I pull into the petrol station, and I was kind of sitting there, and I had a moment, I was like, oh, hey, there's another lane open here. Let me speed this up a little bit. And I go to back up, and I look out the other window, and I start backing up, and there was like a woman, so I was trying not to hit her. And then all of a sudden, I hear the clunk, and I look back, and I hit the truck right behind me, right in the very tail end. The moment you hear that noise, you feel the thud, everything freezes. And it's in that moment of everything freezing that we have the choice of how to react. My reaction wasn't, fuck. That's what it would have been. I would have been angry in the past. I've been angry at myself. I would have been externally angry at the other individual, try to find a way to blame him, the person driving the truck, for my misfortunes. And this is something we see all too often, is people that get into car accidents, even though they know it's their fault, and they try to push blame onto the other individual. And immediately they come in aggressively, like, what were you doing? I can't believe you were doing that. Or they start crying profusely. The other end of that, they become so self-loathing that they hate themselves. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this. For me, I got out of the truck, out of the van. I went up to the individual, and of course he was angry. Of course he was. And I was calm. I just went up to him, and I said, hey man, this is completely my bad. I know this messes up your day. It completely messes up mine as well. This is a situation neither of us want to be in today, but let's find a solution and get on with our lives. It calmed him down immediately. And him and I actually ended up having a really cordial conversation. And even though, we took our pictures, we got everything sorted, his truck had way more damage than my van. And we actually ended up having a little joke as well. Like, he came around, I was sitting on the computer, I was like trying to get my insurance information. And he was saying, oh, it must be your first time driving on the other side of the road or whatever. He asked where I was from, and I was like, oh, I'm American. That explains why I can't drive, right? You know what? I made a self-deprecating joke, and he kind of laughed. And, I just found the humor in the situation. We were both in this horrible, stupid situation. No one wants to have their day started like this. It was like 8 in the morning. None of us want to be in this situation, but at least we found some humor in it. We exchanged our contact information. I said, I'm a man of my word. I will get this sorted. I will not leave you hanging. The thing I constantly think about is how different I would have been if I reacted any other differently, if I was crying or if I was, angry. Everything could have been so much different, especially if I was angry. I definitely don't think anger is ever the way we should react to any situation. We can definitely be firm. Like, say I was the one that got hit. We can be firm, but angry, this is an emotional response. It's not the one we should have. And so now let's talk about you again. Let's talk about you, the viewer. Why am I sharing this story with you? Oftentimes, whenever we have something thrown at us in life that is a struggle, we can look forward 6 months later and say, hey, I learned from it. Hey, something good came out of it. So why can't we live that way in the moment when that thing happens? It's because the emotion takes over. A lot of accepting fate is understanding that you're going to have an emotional response to negative things happen to you. But it's not allowing those things to take hold of you. Just like fear. Fear will always be there, but the moment you will let yourself be afraid, that's different. To live afraid is a state of mind. But fear is just something that exists. It's there. And you have to acknowledge it and look at it. And the same thing with any of these moments in life that come at you, is you have to acknowledge it, look at it, but the way you react to it should be calm, cool, and collected. Of course, I was feeling horrible. Of course, I was sitting here like, crap, all this other stuff. But the way I externally reacted to it, the way I presented myself was someone who was calm, cool, and collected, because I accept fate for what it is. And that is something that this spiritual path has taught me. It's something paganism has taught me, is that fate is out of our control. And I think a lot of people find a negative side in that, like, I don't have free will then if fate exists. We still have free will. Free will led me to that moment. That is still fate. All my choices still led me there. Still led me to having that car accident. And then also all my choices afterwards were still my choices, but still led to fated moments in life. When I set out to make this video, I don't know if I had I just knew I kind of had to make it. Again, it was my choice to make it. But maybe whoever watches it, maybe you need to watch it. Maybe it affects your fate, your destiny, and it helps you along your way. But it's a discipline. Understanding and accepting fate is a discipline. And so the next time something happens to you, good or bad, that moment of pause, the moment of excitement, the moment of fear, the moment of anger, pause, hold, and choose how you react to fate. And then really think about it afterwards. After everything is sorted, everything is settled, sit down and reflect, journal your reaction to it, your feelings through it, and what happened because of it. And I think you're going to be very surprised. The more you do this, the more you pause and compose yourself when a fated moment comes upon you, and you choose how you react. I think you're going to be really amazed by how much more control it makes you feel that you have over your life and your fate. I definitely think there's a spiritual component to fate, because this is the test of life. It's what life has chosen for us to go through. And the fates, the Norns, the gods, the spirits, the ancestors, they watch us in these fated moments to see how we would react to them. And if we react good to them, if we react in the best way possible to them, that is how we become stronger. You may not feel it in the moment, but examples like this one in Ireland, after years of following this spiritual path, when this happened in Ireland and I went through the experience, after looking back, I'm like, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself for going through that experience. Even though it sucked, even though it was expensive, even though it ruined my day, I took it to the best I could. I reacted the best way possible. I found some joy and some humor. I laughed. I was even able to meet a friend for dinner, have a good chuckle. I was tired, I was exhausted, I was dirty by the time I finally reached my destination. But I was satisfied with how I reacted to the day. And definitely after watching this video, if you have a fated thing pop up and you react to it and you thought of this video, you thought of what I've said, please come back and let me know. I hope it's hopeful to you. I really do. And that's the reason I make these videos, is so hopefully it can help someone, because I know this lifestyle, what I've learned in my short life already, I'm so grateful for everything I've been taught by the fates, by the spirits, by the ancestors, by the gods. So thank you so very much for joining me through this video, and I hope it's helped you, and I'll see you in the next video here, The Wisdom of Odin.